Chapter 8 Digital Doppelgängers The Future of Health. There is no gene for the human spirit. Tagline for the movie Gattaca. In the next few years, it is highly likely that you will meet your digital twin, a virtual version of you that lives online, on data servers, and in cyberspace. Your digital twin will be made up of many different inputs, from your medical records to your social media profiles, location data off your phone and smartwatch, and even surveillance camera footage. Digital twins are currently being built of buildings and cities, but the ultimate project is producing accurate digital twins of humans. The purposes of human digital twins are diverse and broad and really depend on the companies and entities that are building them. For example, a digital twin could include data that describes your body and behaviour, which could be used if you become unwell and need medical intervention, helping medical experts prescribe you personalised and bespoke treatments. Digital twins of people across our communities could also be used collectively to help improve our understanding of public health issues such as pandemics. More personalised medicine, new therapeutics and medicines, as well as new treatments for specific diseases, generally means personalised solutions and better results. The use of tailored immunotherapy treatments such as chimeric antigen receptor, CAR, T-cell therapy will likely mean that one day chemotherapy will be a thing of the past. We are seeing speedy shifts in synthetic biology, and seeing those of us that will remember the start of the HIV/AIDS pandemic will rejoice to finally see the virus be sent to the archives of history. We'll also be better prepared for the next pandemic because we will be able to get a vaccine going in days rather than years. The Internet of Bodies is the next stage of the future of health. During the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the Internet of Things was the idea of connecting all the sensors on all the platforms we have, cameras, drones, CCTV, smart devices, environmental monitoring stations, and so on, and then transforming that data so it could help us make sense of the world, how we live in it, and how we could predict the issues that come next. The Internet of Bodies will allow us to do this from a public and personalised health perspective, from the scale of a single cell to a whole digital doppelganger of you. The future of robotics does not look like cute, white plastic, social humanoid robots serving us tea and cake, but rather technological advancement inside our own human bodies. It will happen on a diverse scale, ranging from an organ to an entire joint system, for the purpose of making our lives better. Technology will influence our physical and mental health, changing how we live, work, and play. Change is fast, yet slow. As we swim into the Fifth Industrial Revolution, we are being greeted by the power and tyranny of multimodal data that seeks to understand who we are and what we are made of. When data is collected from different sources like this, it can be problematic. It can be augmented, filtered, personalised, depersonalised, adapted, or even deleted. Most people in the medical world are not trained as data scientists, and a lot of systems still rely on pens and paper rather than cutting-edge IT systems. I am amazed every time I have to go into hospital by just how old school the place feels. It's certainly not what the sci-fi movies said hospitals would be like in the 21st century. When I was pregnant with my first child, I ordered a copy of my ultrasound images. Instead of a USB stick, I was given a CD. This was 2017. As an Apple user, I didn't have a disk drive, so I had to dig out a really old laptop and hope it worked so I could see the scans digitally. I ended up taking photos of the printouts they had given me instead of trying to decipher the bespoke medical software. I was amazed how behind the times they were, and many parts of the health system still are. It seems that while many areas of medicine are cutting edge, a lot of the systems that support this work are decades older than they should be. It's unclear whether this is a funding issue or just a reflection of the slow pace of change that comes naturally to the world of healthcare. Move too fast in medical trials or drug development, and you'll be called a danger to society. This is a huge inhibitor to innovation and disease prevention. So how on earth are we going to ensure that converging technologies and datasets work smoothly, especially when it comes to human-based data? The answer lies in big tech, I'm afraid. There are competing and overlapping markets occurring around datasets that are being used to create digital doppelgangers. Companies are racing to create the best software and hardware that can be seamlessly and ethically used in a confidential and cybersecure way for you to start building the digital version of yourself by proxy as you use social media and other health tech. Remember this: if an app is free, then you are the product, and it doesn't get more personal than when we are talking about your body. Who would you trust more, the government or big tech? The commercialization problem. I felt inspired and then completely enraged when I learned about a simple test that had been developed by a local university. It could pre-screen cancer patients to see which chemotherapy treatments would work best for them with the fewest side effects. However, it wouldn't be developed for use because the university couldn't get funding for it. The total cost of that test per patient? About $30 Australian. That's not much more than the price of avocado on toast and a coffee at your local cafe. Why on earth was it not proceeding? This is the problem with new and emerging health technologies. There are so many restrictions preventing them from scaling up to a profitable size. In Australia, we are known for our research and development, but our commercialisation is not exactly world-leading. We just don't have the cashed-up entrepreneurs or a large enough population to have a significant amount of capital going into spin-offs and startups. Deep tech and synthetic biology are two major areas of growth. Deep tech, also known as hard tech companies, have the expressed objective of providing technological solutions to substantial scientific or engineering challenges. These challenges require lengthy research and development phases and large capital investment. The most prominent deep tech fields include advanced materials, advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, blockchain, robotics, photonics, electronics, and quantum computing. If you had an mRNA-based COVID-19 vaccine, you have benefited from synthetic biology. It's when scientists create molecules in the lab that are produced inside your body's cells in order to trigger a function inside those cells. It's amazing, and not cheap, work. Convergence is a significant part of these areas of study, with many multimodal data pools being combined and aligned. Herein lies a real challenge and opportunity. If we really want truly personalised medicine, then we need to invest in the data and information systems required to make it fit for purpose, rather than trying to retrofit datasets with no metadata or ISO standards applied to the capture. Realising the concept of collating information from sources as diverse as your Apple Watch and a bespoke medical device in your heart, for example, will take a lot of development. It takes an ecosystem to nurture the new and emerging seedlings of the tech world, especially when it comes to highly risky research and development phases, where a lot of time and energy is invested long before significant dollars can be recouped. Being problem-focused rather than sales-driven means that there may be a longer lag phase to any return on investment, and markets may shift as technologies are developed. Pandemics and other such incidents can cause a rush of money and a speeding up of the cycles needed to safely get results, though honestly, it would be better if we didn't need a pandemic as a motivator to trigger government spending. The way science is funded needs a shake-up and maybe a target of percentage GDP. Let's start with 5% here in Australia, please. The machine inside you. Would you wear a tracking device or chip under your skin? Some people love this idea, and people have been known to take the chips out of travel or credit cards and surgically insert them into their hands or wrists so they don't need to carry anything with them. This may sound fringe and fantastical, but it's on the increase. In the 2012 remake of Total Recall, the lead character has a phone implanted under the skin of their hand, and they literally put their hand to their ear to make a call, much like my 2-year-old does during games of make-believe. How handy would it be if you couldn't lose your phone, or drop it down the loo, or have a toddler hide it so well it can't be found for days on end? As a woman, having a tracking device under my skin might make me feel safer knowing I'd be trackable if something terrible happened. But what about women fleeing domestic violence who don't want their abusive exes to be able to track them down? Technology is bringing much more than just convenience to the medical field. Dreams are now becoming realities. Kids born with microtia, where their external ear is improperly formed, can have a new ear grown in a lab using their own tissues through innovative additive manufacturing techniques, aka 3D printing, which can then be surgically attached. Now, imagine the possibilities if you could integrate hearing assistance into the ear that you've just grown for them instead of just aesthetics. Why aim to merely replace when you could improve and augment? Researchers are working on creating stem cells to combat various diseases and disabilities and for tissue replacement or repair. One of the most exciting areas is spinal cord injury. Stem cells taken from the nose can be turned into nerve cells and then injected into the spine. Add this to immersive VR headsets and treadmills, and you create a whole new multimodal rehabilitation opportunity. Effectively, when spinal patients look down in the VR world, they will be able to see their legs walking, so their brain thinks they're walking. We know about neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain and nervous system to change. It's an area that we're just really getting to grips with. But in these spinal cord patients, these innovations have created a whole new level of physical therapy. People who may have been paralysed for life are going to be able to walk again. This is another example of how convergent technologies add more value than the sum of their parts. It makes me wonder, what would happen if you took an exoskeleton, a treadmill, a physical therapist, a neuroscientist, a VR expert, a computer scientist, an artist and a gamer, and put them all in the room with a spinal injury patient and teach them what outcomes might be possible and preferable for the patient. We are reaching the fulcrum of additive manufacturing for human tissue. Life-changing support is already available in the form of bone grafts made to order and bone replacements designed from MRI scans to be completely fit for use and personalised, like how you can have clothes tailor-made for your own dimensions. If you could have a backup body made up of parts available for use when your current body breaks down, would you? This is a key concept of the hospital of the future, and I first heard about it from Professor Mia Woodruff in Queensland, whose work in this field has begun being scaled and applied to patients in Australia. If we can grow cells, tissues, and maybe even organs to order, what happens if we look subcellular? Let's go nano. Nanotechnology, 1 nanometer, is 1 billionth of a meter, so this is technology operating at the scale of molecules. Has been a headline grabber since the late 1990s, but was first introduced as a concept in 1959 by physicist Richard Feynman in his world-famous lecture, Plenty of Room at the Bottom. It's estimated that as a sub-industry, nanomedicine, the medical application of nanotechnology, will be worth US $260 billion by 2025. We have come a long way from people building replicas of famous statues at the nanoscale to grab media attention. Mother Nature has the answers. As always, Mother Nature has already engineered answers. It's just that we have yet to realise the potential. There are places in the ocean that are so unfamiliar to Homo sapiens that we haven't adapted to them, and our immune systems haven't evolved alongside them. They are, by very definition, alien worlds to us humans and other land dwellers. Some of the microscopic life that resides there could be used as part of the next drug delivery mechanism and developed into new medicines and therapeutics. These are called silent bacteria because our immune system and other cellular defense mechanisms just can't detect them. They might currently seem like the stuff of sci-fi movies, maybe slightly reminiscent of the 1971 movie The Andromeda Strain to some of you, but the more we seek them, the more we find that Mother Nature has already come up with the solutions we will need to survive on this planet for the next few thousand generations. Imagine if, rather than just waiting for a solution, we could use big data alongside bioinformatics and actually switch on silent genes to make regular bacteria produce new proteins or medicines or antibiotics in a bioreactor lab. There is work happening now to look for new antibiotics. Indeed, we are racing to find them, with the search going as far as to the depths of the Mariana Trench and the heights of the International Space Station. The next pandemic is likely to be driven by antibiotic resistance, and so we need different weapons in our armoury. Antibiotic use in humans is only 100 years old. And we have squandered the potential of these miraculous molecules by overusing them, not using them properly, and in some countries, not protecting the last line of defence by using antibiotics reserved for humans in pig farming and other forms of intensive agriculture. What else could we find that is locked up in these silent biosynthetic gene clusters, BSGs, parts of the microbial genomes that are sitting there quietly, not working or producing anything at the moment, when we start to stimulate them? It's a potential treasure trove. When we can better understand Mother Nature's ways on a molecular level, we will surely be able to imitate in the lab how our bodies function, right? Scientists are already working on new ways to understand cellular processes and then use them to produce proteins, much like hijacking a factory that normally makes shoes to instead make leather handbags. Synthetic biology is an industry worth some US $25 billion and is likely to be the great scientific gift from my generation, and what a cracker it is. mRNA is the code that asks our cells to make certain proteins, and the vaccines for COVID-19 use the mRNA pattern to make the spike proteins that the virus uses to unlock our cells and cause infection. By creating the spike proteins inside our bodies for a very brief period of time, we were able to train our immune systems to recognise what they would look like and so have a defence mechanism ready to go when faced with the real thing. Following the success of Hungarian biochemist Katalin Karikó, who deserves a Nobel Prize, we are now recognising not only the potential of new technologies, but also the crazy pitfalls and politics around academic funding of emerging research. Katalin's work will save millions of lives in the next few years alone, but the most exciting impacts of mRNA-based vaccine technology are yet to be truly discovered. There are now mRNA vaccines being created, tested and trialled for diseases such as dengue fever, malaria, Zika, and even HIV. Diseases which typically affect poor people in the global south and so have not traditionally had a lot of money spent on them. The transcriptome is a fascinating beast. Essentially, it's a descriptor of ribonucleic acid, RNA, activity. RNA is a molecule that comes in many forms with various biological roles in coding, decoding, regulation and expression of genes. To understand RNA, let's break down the main difference between DNA and RNA. Imagine your cells are libraries, and the books are stories written in DNA. They silently sit there waiting for someone to open the book and read them. When the DNA is read aloud, that sound is the mRNA, messenger RNA, which disappears almost as quickly as it was formed, because it has a simple and short-lived reason for existence to carry a message which confers a function, such as protein expression. Since the start of COVID-19, we have heard more about mRNA than I have had hot dinners. But the interesting thing about the transcriptome is that it is at the convergence of molecular biology, microscopy, big data, and creating digital twins of ourselves. An area on the horizon of research is single-cell spatial transcriptomics. That is, the ability to look at that book being read in real time and see the RNA being produced on a single-cell level, so that we can then understand cell function at an organelle level. What this could mean, when the area of study reaches its potential, is that we would be able to personalise medicine, surgery and drug doses. Imagine if before a surgeon operated on someone, they could operate on the patient's particular problem in a simulated environment and see the outcomes from different approaches. I remember at the start of the pandemic, all the mainstream media outlets rushing to state that we had never managed to have a vaccine against a coronavirus. But our successes in this regard irrefutably show that it is only money that is stopping the science. Now we have a new dawn in terms of the value of public health, and hopefully that will be matched by long-term funding strategies and the reconnection of people who have fallen away from their STEM careers to come back to a place where they can be celebrated and supported. Thank goodness for the gumption of Katalin Karikó, Sarah Gilbert, and the other leaders developing new vaccine technologies. They are the heroes of the 21st century. The human genome. You may remember the hype around the Human Genome Project when it started way back in 1990 with an aim to map all the genes of the human genome. It had 20 major collaborating partners from all over the world. An initial draft of the human genome was shared in 2000, and the project was stated to be complete in 2003. What used to take years can now take minutes, and the growth of genomics to be applied to other species as well as whole ecosystems has really come into its own in recent years. The technology just keeps getting cheaper, and business models are always diversifying. To many nowadays, it may seem like the world has always known about genetics, but the accessibility and ease of testing is still wondrous to me. I recently had my genetics tested because of a family history of cancer, and it was a surprisingly easy process. All I did was spit into a tube and post it to California. For a few $100s, I was very happy to receive the news after a week or so that I had no gene variants that could mean a predisposition to cancer. This wasn't just important to me, but to my sons. Some of the genes associated with breast cancer, such as BRCA2, are also associated with prostate cancer, so I wanted to check that my boys would be okay in terms of genetically related cancers. Your genome is not actually a static, set-in-stone thing. It is dynamic, and the study of epigenetics, the interaction between your genes and the environment, has really gained traction, investment, and media coverage in this century. You may have a genetic predisposition to certain illnesses, for example, but that doesn't mean you're definitely going to get a specific disease. However, what it does mean is that certain stimuli or environmental factors might activate some of those genes and then cause a problem for you. Many such genes might be inherited, so you might have a family history of a certain type of disease such as cancer or Alzheimer's, but not all cancers or neurodegenerative diseases are directly linked to inherited genetics. It's all part of a puzzle we still haven't cracked. Nature versus nurture. The next area of science commercialization is of the proteome, the analysis of all the proteins that your cells are currently producing, what they could produce, and which functions they perform. Then add in the metabolome, the collection of all metabolic chemical compounds produced by cells during metabolism, and you're looking at an ecosystem of unique and highly complex small molecule components that you make and that affect your life. The health and fitness industry is already talking about personalised and targeted nutrition and exercise plans based on genetics, but these tailored solutions will really come into their own when we can crack and master the metabolome cheaply on a person-by-person basis. The more we understand our genetic potential, the more we can understand the biochemistry of disease potential in our own unique biometric footprint. There are huge demands for better testing to detect and predict the risk of disease formation. In the UK, cancer screening using blood samples has started on a population of 140,000 volunteers and will ramp up to 1 million people in a couple of years. In Sydney, Dr. Caroline Ford and her team are creating a blood test to cheaply and reliably detect ovarian cancer in its earliest stages. She is using her deep knowledge of cancer cell biology to weaponise its behaviour into a mechanism to test for its presence. Genius, really. The microbiome. An area of study emerging through the microbial ecology community in the early 2000s was that of the human microbiome, which consists of all the microbes in and on the human body. We have more bacterial cells in our own body than our own cells. You and I are truly living in a microbial world, and I am a microbial girl. The very idea that our gut microbiology could be attached to so many chronic health issues, as well as mental health and performance, and potentially be the cure of some persistent diseases is very new, but it is gaining traction in the media and in general medical practice. And no, it is not merely fecal matter. Our gut health is fundamental to our mental and physical well-being. You can even have your gut microbes commercially analysed now and receive tailored advice on how out of balance you are and what to do to fix it. It will cost you a few $100s though, through a University of Queensland spin-off called Microba. Catastrophic collapse of a person's gut microbe community can lead to some really negative health outcomes. Sometimes this is triggered by really strong antibiotics, other times it could be from hospital-acquired infections and superbugs. One answer to this is a fecal microbiota transplant, FMT, where someone donates their poo to be pumped into your gut to help re-establish gut flora. You are unique And there are gut microbe species in your body that can only be found in your body and no one else's. So the key seems to be to use the poo of someone who is closely related to you. Imagine that conversation. I have had friends whose lives were changed for the better by FMT, so they talk about it all the time. It's great geek chit-chat, but not so great at a dinner party. Get back in the driver's seat. The future is an incredibly personalised space, which means it is very, very personal in all the ways we can find awkward. With some of the advances in medicine focusing on tailored solutions, it could be said that we don't have the science literacy in society for the general population to fully comprehend how some of these technologies work and thereby give true consent to what they are about to go through. The key here is not only for us to take responsibility for what we know and can learn, but also a societal responsibility to trust science and ensure that new technology is regulated appropriately. Get educated and ask your local MP to do the same. Ultimately, rules and regulations are made in the political sphere. Don't spend too long on Dr. Google. Ask better questions. All medical doctors take the Hippocratic Oath or its modern successor, the Declaration of Geneva, which means they make promises such as to do no harm and always make the health and well-being of their patient their first consideration. But people are human, and humans can make mistakes. Always ask for a second opinion from someone unconnected to your original doctor. If you have the money, get your microbiome checked. You'll likely enjoy the results, even if only for dinner party conversation fodder. Also, if you have a history of cancer in your family, get a referral for genetic counselling and look at the options open to you. I recently had my first colonoscopy, age 42, and though the methodology involved a hospital-based procedure after bowel prep, my specialist did say to me that if everyone had a colonoscopy at 40, maybe as a birthday present, then the rates of bowel cancer would be so incredibly low that it seems to me that I should recommend that you think about this as well. After all, prevention is better than cure, and personalised prevention is even better.